Hello and welcome to this place on the internet where I talk about all the things I make, mostly knitting, and I am here to share with you the things I have been working on. Welcome everybody. I hope you are enjoying spring in the northern hemisphere. It's getting lovely sunny again. It has been quite rainy the last few weeks. So yeah, just let's get started. I'm not wearing any knitwear at the moment, so that's something I can't show you now. I do have some projects I want to talk about a little bit. There are a few projects that have been popping up the past few episodes, if you will call it, that I won't show. One of them is, I'm looking there because the things I am not going to show are laying somewhere there in my craft room. One of them is the pink sweater I am working on. I really want to start the front or the back panel. The sleeves are done, but nothing has happened since I last recorded, so that's a project I won't show today. And the lace shawl I was knitting, I can't remember the name, with the like the grain thing, Windy Fields it's called. It's from the 52 Weeks of Shawls book. I really like it, but I just haven't grabbed it, so that one I won't show either. But there are a few things I do want to show. Let's start with the one I have been working on this morning. My cozy memories blanket. It has to pop up sometimes. It has been quite a while since I showed it. I'm not going to talk about all the colors because they're just leftovers. There are some things that I have changed up. So when I started this project, it was quite soon after I really started knitting. So I think, how long ago? Well, I learned knitting when I was a child, and then in my student years, so I think begin 20s. I really have to learn to wipe my memory card before I record instead of a few minutes in, because that has happened so many times the last few times I recorded, that I get a pop-up that my camera won't record, and I'm like, I just changed the battery, and he's like, no, it's not your battery, it's the card, it's full. So I have erased enough so I can continue this video now. I was talking about my memories blanket. I started it when I first really started knitting. I could knit for quite a long time, but I mean the moment that I really start knitting socks and garments for myself that I would actually wear. And I noticed quite soon that you have leftovers, and I wanted to do something with those leftovers. So what I did is I just started the memories blanket, but with a different spine in the decrease line. So I did a center double decrease there, and I started with, every square is 51 stitches, so 1 center stitch and 25 on each side, and that worked quite well. And I started just in one row, and I have a thing with numbers sometimes, and I really wanted a blanket that was, when you fold it neatly, that it would fold on the edges of the squares, and I wanted something that was dividable by either 3 or 4, like both 3 and 4, because then you can fold your blanket in 3 or you can fold it in 4 and it will still be neatly folded. Crazy, absolutely nonsense to do it like that, but that was my thing at that time. So I started first with 12 squares. Let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So that was like, I can't fit it in the frame, but not very wide, like one person's blanket, like a one person's bed blanket, just about that. I found it too narrow. I wanted a wider blanket, so I doubled it. So I made another 12 squares, but as you can see, now it's huge. And I did the same thing with the height, so I mapped out the width and the length of the blanket first. So I have also 24 squares the other way around. So, and now I'm filling in the in-betweens. I first started with only sock weight, but then I noticed that I really like just to have all my scraps in here from every project. So I just put everything in, and it's getting quite big. It's really not done anytime soon, but it's getting quite big. It takes me about an hour to finish one square, so you can map out how many hours it will take to finish this thing. Yeah, so the thing I changed is the spine of the squares, because I found it a little bit too messy. Let me see if I can show it. Like over here you do get a line, but it wasn't the way I liked it, and then it hit me that I should slip that center stitch on the row back. So you get a decrease and then you slip that stitch on the other side, and it gives a much cleaner center line. And I'm quite once I noticed that, I was like, now I want to do every square over. But then my mom and my husband and some other people said, but it's like, you call it your memories blanket, right? So you learned this in the process. It's something that belongs in this blanket, that you get that vision of how to do it better. So it took me a while after I noticed I wanted to do it differently. It took me a while to get back to it, because it was kind of bothering me, but now I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. It's a scrappy blanket. It's gonna be cozy. It's gonna be nice to see all the things like, oh, I made this out of this yarn and I used this for that project, and it will be just very, very nice to have a blanket like that. As I said, it won't be finished in quite a long time, but it's nice to do like one square an evening, and yeah, not every evening, but like the last few nights I just put things back in, and I really, really like it. I think the last few weeks I put in this square. Let me see, because I'm working in the diagonal line every time. So I put in, let me see, 2, 4, 5 squares. So also this chunky one. I do plan out like that when you put a lot of thicker yarns next to each other, your blanket will grow. And I put it in between the fingering weights, so the fingering weights stretch a bit, but it doesn't completely warp your blanket, because when you have a corner with a lot of heavier yarn, then that corner will be just bigger than the rest of the blanket. So I spread those thicker yarns a little bit more out. This is a cotton yarn, a Rauma yarn, I think. and just a commercial sock yarn. It's just all leftovers and I love it. And I'm very much enjoying a project like this again now. So that's why I wanted to show it to you. Let's see. I started, I think, 2 projects since last time. And one of them is crochet. And I think I talked about, wrong bag. I think I talked about the project last time, but wasn't sure yet if I wanted to start it or not. And that is this project. Let me see if I can have a good picture for you. It's out of the Pompom issue 44. And it's this project. It's a crochet top. It's yeah, very open, so it's for to put over a tank top or a dress or whatever. And it's made like it looks like it's woven, and it intrigued me. I was like, how are they going to manage that with all the yarns you're using? And I was just intrigued, and I was like, well, I will look in my supplies and see if I have a yarn that I can use for that. There is a little bit of yarn chicken going on. Not for the you use 3 different weights, so you use a DK, a fingering and a lace yarn, and those 3 textures mixed will give you the look of the top. So the DK, I think I will have enough. Otherwise I do have another skein, but that's a different batch, I think. So it's a little bit lighter of color, the other skein, I think. But in crochet it's sometimes a little bit less noticeable, especially when you are not putting the colors right next to each other, but the other colors are interfering with your color repeat. So I think that's fine. The sock yarn I will have enough, but this one will be a little bit scary. It was already used, but I didn't know exactly how much, and my weighing device was not working at that moment, and I was like, well, I will just start. It will be fine. This is a commercial dyed silk mohair, and it will be able to order if I don't have enough, and the color won't be off that much. So that will be fine. But I do hope I don't need to buy extra yarn. So how this works, I'm not gonna spoil the pattern because it's in a paid for magazine, so it's not mine to share, but I will tell a little bit about it. I'm just looking now at what's the front, what's the back, and this is the front, I think. So I do like how these colors play together. I was very much struggling with which yarns to use, and especially this color. I wasn't sure. I really liked it with the other 2, but I wasn't sure, is it something I'm going to wear? But the more the fabric is growing, the more I'm thinking like it was just the perfect color to fit with this project. I also had a more brownish color and it was just too dull or something, I don't know, but this is just working out fine. I split, so this is the sleeve and this will be the front. So you have like yeah, so you will join this together at the bottom, and this is where your arm goes through, and then this will be the neckline. It will be aggressively blocked and it will grow, but as you can see in the pictures of the pattern, it's also very cropped. So yeah, we will see. I really like the effects. What you do, essentially, I'm not gonna spoil stitches or anything, but you make a strip of one color, and yeah, then you make the squares in that color. Then you put that color on hold, you take the next color, you make a strip, you weave it through the squares of the previous color, and then you add the squares in that second color. Then you take the third color, you weave it through, and then you make the squares in that third color, and then you go back to your first color and you make sure that the squares you make are going up and over the previous crocheted rows. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I hope it does. It's fun to do, but it's really something. There are two things happening. One of them is that I can crochet, I can do it quite neatly if I say so myself, but I'm not a crocheter that does it on a daily basis or frequently enough to make it something that goes completely automatically. Like, I know my mom can crochet almost. She's crocheting now with a very fluffy yarn, so you can't see the stitches, and she can do that just on feeling. She knows her crochet, she knows how the stitches feel, so she can do it quite much just on feeling, with a glance once in a while. But for me that's not the case. I really have to watch my crochet. So it's not something I can do when we're watching a series that I really have to pay attention to. So I can watch something that I've already seen, or that's very much enough to listen to it instead of watching it. But this I really have to look at my hands, especially because of this very yeah, it's not like mohair silk is a little bit fluffy, but the fluffiness isn't the point, but the sturdiness and the not so fun experience of have to rip back with this stuff. And I know people say you can put it in the freezer and it helps, but when I want to rip back, I want to do it now, otherwise I will get angry with the project. So when I decide to rip back, I would just want to do it now and not put it in a freezer and take it out, and I will probably forget it's in the freezer as well. So that's really not for me. But yeah, it's not the most easy yarn to work with. I do really like the look though. I did make a couple boo-boos. Like you can see, I tied some things here. You really have to pay attention to the weaving in of the yarn. Do I see another mistake here now? I really do hope not. No, I think I'm fine. At the edges there will be crocheted over the edges. There's another mistake I made. Like when you don't start the row in the right way, the yarns won't twist around, the edges won't twist around each other, but just go loose straight next to each other. And you will crochet over that edge to make it neat. And there's one place over here where it didn't really went the way it should. It's too much open over here. But that will be fine once I crochet over that edge. But on the other side I really made a mistake. Like it was just not in the right spot, the edge. So and it was of course in the mohair silk yarn. And you notice mistakes quite late, because you only notice that you went wrong when you're already a few rows further and you've switched colors a few times. So I really didn't want to go back. What I did is I cut the chain, the crochet chain on the edge where I made a mistake, and I fixed those ends and tied them together in the right way, and I will crochet over it again, as I said, so nobody is going to see it. But it was quite a thing that I was like, oh, I really don't want to rip back so many rows with this yarn, especially in crochet, because in knitting it's all like very loose, and everybody knows that when you start knitting and you drop a stitch, that it will, you think, oh no, and you're doing like this and it will run down. And even in a mohair silk yarn, it's still, every loop is kind of loose. But in crochet, when you unravel crochet, you have to really pull on the yarns and almost make like, it's like popping slip knots all the time, and all those hairs that are on the yarn are making actual knots. So it's not fun to do that with this yarn in crochet. So I did make a shortcut. I cut my crochet change on the edge, and I just fix it, and once I'm wearing it, nobody will see it, and it will be just fine. I'm almost done with the fronts. I put some markers over here. That's where the back will be attached, and you can see when I have it like this how much it stretches only through the weight. So it will be becoming quite bigger than it is now. So then the back will be made, and then it's just one more sleeve, and then the putting it together, like folding it over, stitch it together, and crochet around the edge. And I think it will be something very fun to wear in the summer. So that's a new project I have been working on. It's been quite a while, I think I haven't done this for maybe 2 weeks. But as I said, I really have to sit down and make time for it, because otherwise I will make more mistakes and I don't want that. So something that needs my full attention. Another new project I've been working on is asking a little bit more attention now, but was my TV knitting for quite a while. And that is this sweater I'm knitting. Let me see if I can show it. It's quite dark. My studio light is on, but I should have changed the setting on my camera, but I can't be bothered now. It's like in the actual room it's light enough. The camera is picking up the grayish, cloudish light from outside. It's just not perfect, but we will do with it. But once you have a dark yarn, it's a little bit harder to show you. Let me see if I can bring it up close. Like you can see, there are cables here, and there is some texture here and up here, but the bottom part of the sweater is all plain stockinette in the round. So that was quite a lot of easygoing knitting I could do in front of the telly, and do pay attention to what's actually there. So yeah, this is going to be a sweater, jumper, depends on which side of the ocean you live. Yeah, it's going to be a jumper for my father. He became 60 this year in April, and I was like, well, I will knit you a sweater but like I know he wears wool sweaters, so he does have a Norwegian wool sweater, and I think he has one other one, so I know that he wears those things, because I'm very like with a big project like this, I really want to make sure that the person that receives it is going to use it, or that I otherwise, if they don't use it, it's something that me, myself, or my husband might wear. But I'm very sure with my dad, he chose the color himself. I'm sure that this is something he will wear. So I started it, and I was like, it won't be finished before your birthday, but I will do my best to make you a sweater. And it's going quite well. And the pattern I'm using is out of this book. It's Dutch. I don't know if there are, I think there is an English translation, but I'm not sure if there is, but I think I read somewhere that there is an English translation. It's called Fishermans sweaters, Fishermans jumpers collected, and there are 112 historical sweaters or jumpers and the knitting schematics out of 63 places near the coast in the Netherlands. So, but once you actually look at the pattern, and I will just let me see if there's something too complicated so you can't see what's happening, because I don't want to give spoilers out of the book. But you have like, let me see. First you have 3 chapters with the history of the fishermen's sweaters and the material they use and how they came about and what's so special about them. And the most special thing is that it's one of the unique knitted pieces that was shown on the outside. So it was outerwear, it was workwear, and most of the knit items that people wore were undergarments. So that makes the fisherman sweaters a little bit more special. So there are no schematics here, so I can show you, but this is like how your pattern is looking. So you have a picture either of the reknitted sweater or of the old sweater the pattern is based on. So they went looking for pictures of fishermen wearing sweaters, and they reconstructed those sweaters, because most of the sweaters are long gone. It was working wear, so they used it until it broke, and then they used the scraps to clean the ship, maybe, you don't know. So yeah, that's there are just not many sweaters that survived. So they used old pictures of fishermen to reconstruct those sweaters, and all you get is like the picture and the drawing on top with how the front should look like, and the gauge and stuff and the sizes of the example sweater. But not everybody is the same size, so there is a table somewhere in the front of the book with standardized sizes, but they also give explanation on how to fit the sweater to the person you're knitting it for. So that's what I did. I measured the size of my dad, and I measured, and they say you have to put in this many centimeters of ease. So I did the calculations, I made a swatch, I did the calculations, I started knitting, and yeah, this is what's happening at the moment. All those sweaters are in a very easy T shape, so that means you just knit in the round until the armholes, then you split the front and the back and just go straight up. You do something for the neck opening on the front, and you join the shoulders, and then you just knit the sleeve next onto the body, and you do some decreases on the underside of the arm to make it fit the wrists. So yeah, that's what's happening. A lot of calculations. You have to make sure on your own to fit the pattern repeat to the amount of stitches you have. So you have to fiddle a bit with increasing at some point or decreasing to make one stitch pattern go back into the next stitch go over into the next stitch pattern. So there's a little bit of calculations there. You have to make sure that you increase some stitches when there is a panel with cables, because cables cinch in your fabric, and you don't want a sweater that goes like that on the sides in circumference, because of when you have one panel with cables and you don't adjust your stitch count, then you will have like a piece that's tighter than the rest of the sweater. You don't want that. So that's working quite fine. I bought 2 cones of holst super soft. This color is called, I'm not sure, is it here? Navy Heather. It's in the cones, so that's nice. Navy Heather. It's a heathered yarn. It's a very nice dark blue. It's lighter in person than it's showing on the camera. Excuses, that has all to do with the lighting. I assure you that the stitch pattern is quite good visible in real life. I did forget to weigh the cones before I started, because I know how much yarn I ordered, but there is the heavy cardboard cone in the middle that I did not. So that was my camera that stopped because it was half an hour. I wish I could switch it off, but that's not possible. So yeah, so what I should have done is weigh the cone before I started knitting. Then I could calculate myself how much this cardboard piece weighs, and then I would know exactly how many yarn I have still left. But I didn't do that, so I'm not sure how many yards, how many meters I have put in this sweater already, and I don't know how much I have left over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to knit the body part completely and close the shoulder seams, and then I can weigh the body part of the sweater. And once I know how much yarn I've used for the body part, I can estimate if I have enough for the sleeves, because roughly it depends. If you have like a boxy sweater, you have a very short sleeves. Like if you have a boxy sweater that's going in width until here, then you only have like this of a sleeve, then it doesn't count. But roughly in a normal sized sweater, your sleeves together are 1/3 of the yarn of the complete project. So I can calculate that once I finished the body piece. I can calculate if I have enough left over for the sleeves. If I don't, I can order a little bit of yarn, maybe not a complete cone, but maybe a few skeins, and hold it together with one of the threads I already have to make the color difference as little as possible. That will be okay. But I really do hope that I do have enough yarn. I'm knitting this very tightly. Like I use 2 strands of holst supersoft, which is a thin fingering weight yarn, but it really fluffs up after you wash out the spinning oil. So you can knit it to a normal fingering weight gauge. But the Fishermans sweaters were traditionally, you know what I mean. They were knit very, very tight because it was their outerwear and it had to protect them from the sea and from the wind and things like that. And I wanted to make this sweater as much as the originals as possible without being uncomfortable. So I knit it very, very tightly. I'm using a 2.5 millimeter, am I saying that right? 2.5 millimeter needle with 2 strands of holst together. So it's almost a DK weight when you hold it together, right? Especially after washing it. So it will be a very dense sweater. It will be very warm and very cozy, I think. But it does mean that I maybe underestimate the amount of yarn I needed, but I think I will be fine. My only issue is that, is it just me, or does this cone look bigger than this cone? There should be an even amount of yarn on them, but it really looks to me like this one is fuller than this one. We will see, we will see. It's a fun project. I split for the fronts now, so yeah, I'm knitting back and forth on the front now, and then I have to do the back piece, so it's going quite fast. And there is one more project that I have been knitting on, and that's one that you have seen for a lot of times now, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. Oh no, there goes the stitch marker. It's my chevron shawl. It's very relaxing to knit on, and I'm getting very close to the end of my hand spun, so we will see how long I can make it. And I just started the second skein of BC garn. Let me see. BC garn bio Shetland. I just started my second skein. So there are 50. Let me see. I do have one more. Let me see. I think they're 50 grams. Am I right? Yeah, 50 grams. So that means, and how many meters? 280 meters. So that means that there is just over 280 meters, like say 300 meters of yarn of the green, and it means that around the same amount of the hand spun. So that means that what I did over here you can achieve with 2 skeins of fingering, 2 skeins of 100 gram of fingering. So yeah, that's very nice. We will see how much more I need to finish it. As I'm getting closer to the end, as I said previous, that I was in doubt. I had a vision and I changed my vision, and I have been in doubt a few weeks how I would finish the other end of this shawl. And the more I knit on it, the more I think I will just, it's a very interesting shape. I really like it, and I was trying it on and I was like, well, but you can put like this point on front and the other on the other side of your arm, and it's almost like laying there perfectly because of the shape. And you can just wrap the other end around, and if it's a little bit too short to my taste now, but if I can get enough length out of it, I think it will be very wearable just in this shape. So we will see, but I really enjoy knitting with handspun, and I'm definitely going to dust off my spinning wheel and make more, because I do have one skein. This one is also handspun that I can, of course, everything is falling down. I can knit up this one. I don't know what I'm going to make out of it, but I do have one skein of handspun still to knit up, so that's nice. But it's nice to also have color. I will just let everything fall down to the ground. I will clean it up later. It's nice to have options, so that if I want to knit with handspun, I don't have to choose that skein. I can choose about several. So I will definitely start spinning again, and I really like spinning outside. So yeah, weather is getting great for that again. Another thing I've been working on, I don't have it with me here now, but I will post a I'm also want to post about it on Instagram. So I think once this video is up, it will be also on my Instagram page. I did make a pair of stays, 2 pairs actually. The first one was just from a pattern that I found somewhere and instructions that I found somewhere on the internet, just to see if I could do it and if I liked it and things like that. So that was kind of my mock-up, if you want to say. And I do own a book that's called how it's called, oh my gosh, I'm not so good with names. It's from the School of Historical Dress. It's called Patterns of Fashion, I think, issue 5, and that's about stays and stuff like that. And I read something about it after I finished the first pair that wasn't fitting me perfectly, but it was also like a standardized pattern, so what do you expect? And then I was like, well, I can do this. I'm going to make one that will fit me. And I did it. I made a black pair of stays with a not so historically accurate zipper in the front, because that's something I did notice, is that stays close on the back. You do have them also closing on the front, with laced up on the front or on the front and the back, so you can choose. But I really wanted something that I could put on completely on my own, so I put a zipper in the front, and the first time you put it on, you have to like feel like how tight I'm going to put it in the back and close it up. But after that first time, you can just use the zipper in front, and it's lovely, and I really do like it. I do like wearing it. It's not of course it's supposed to be a close fitted garment. It's supposed to give you support, especially if you wear long skirts. I did make a very long skirt and I really like wearing it, but I especially like wearing it with a pair of stays, because it distributes the weight of the skirt over your complete upper body, and it works just the way they say it should work. But it's something you shouldn't put so tight that you can't breathe or are uncomfortable. It's supposed to help you instead of restricting you too much. So I really am enjoying making those clothes and try to wear them sometimes. So maybe I will show it here in a video sometimes. I'm not sure if people are interested in those things. There are a lot of videos about that. I don't know if you are expecting me to show those things as well. So I will just leave that for a bit, but do know that a lot of my crafting time the past few months went to that as well, and I really enjoyed it. So I will put a picture of the pair of stays on Instagram, so you can take a look if you are interested. And I think that's everything I have to show about all my crafting things at the moment. Oh no, I forgot one. Let me see. So I did made a little effort because I also was thinking about something else I wanted to talk about. So I did get the other piece that I finished, and I didn't show it finished last time, so I'm very happy that I can show it. I will put it on. It is a cowl. Let me see. I do have to weave in some ends still, but I will do that before I take the final pictures. And what I did is I made it curve from the back to the front, so it stays flat. Like you have to place it at the right angle once you put it on, when you put it on. But once it's sitting the way you want it, it stays that way. It's not going to hang down your cowl, because if you just put it on the front, then it will make the shape of your cowl different. So it's a panel with some short row shaping at the top, and then you have the front pedal with a very big cable that I had to figure out. So this is maybe not my prettiest piece. I will do it another time maybe, but yeah, you can knit it as long as you want. Also, yeah, my roof is like that above me, like I can touch my roof over here, so it's very hard to stand up, but to show you everything. But I made it not super long. You can adjust the length if you want, but I will show you what I mean with faking that it's a sweater, because I really like wearing is it called a jacket? I think so. Jackets like this. But in wintertime it's very hard to fit something warm with long sleeves underneath it. So then I came up with this thing, so I can button this down, and it really looks like if I'm wearing a sweater with a big cowl. And because I made it long enough, it even peeks out at the bottom, but it isn't too long that it goes underneath it, so that would show that it isn't a sweater, right? Yeah, but I'm very happy with it. It is a quick project, it's fun to do. This cable, I really enjoy doing it. It's different than the standard cables I've done, so I really liked this technique, so I'm very happy to show that with you as well. But yeah, I finished it and I'm writing the pattern at the moment, so you can knit it as well. I do recommend that you know where you're gonna pair it with. Like, I knew that I wanted it long enough so it could be visible over here a bit. But if you only wear it on a let's say really an outdoor coat that you don't want to close up to the top, then you can knit it shorter. Then you don't need it to fill your complete body. So yeah, that's something I've been working on. Let's see, there was one thing I wanted to show you. It's not a project I'm working on, but a book I got. It was my birthday last Tuesday, and my mom and dad got me a nice knitting book. They got me this one, and what I really like about this book, it's a lovely book, but is that they picked it completely by themselves. So they had my husband for help to see if I already owned it. So I think that's a good thing. But I really didn't know that they were gonna give me this book, so that's very, very nice. What I really do like about it is that it's completely for home decor. So I do not own a book that's focused on that, so that's something different and something nice. And what I really like, but I can't really show you because I don't want to give things away, but as you can see, it's quite graphical, all the pillows and blankets that are in. You can also see that on the front. So they do give you the schematics of the patterns and recommendations in yarn and stuff like that, but they also encourage you to play with your leftovers and make it completely your own. And I think that's very nice that you do have a guideline, but are also stimulated to do it your own way. So yeah, that was a very, very nice gift. And strangely enough, there are some how do you say that, oven mitts, or they're not mitts, but like pannenlappen, oven, those kind of things that you use to hold your pot holders. Do you call those pot holders? I think so. But mine are not that nice anymore, and I didn't even think about making them myself, although it's such a easy, quick project to make yourself. I didn't think about it, and in this book there are some examples, so maybe that will be my first project out of this book. I don't know, but it did give me ideas, and that's always good, right? To get new ideas. So a lot of things. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.